What's up, guys? Happy Tuesday. We have the biggest slate that we're ever going to have in the NBA. 14 games tonight on FanDuel, 11 on DraftKings. I'm Chuck Silver. This is Smitty here with Occupy Fantasy. Smitty, how we doing?
Doing good. Getting ready to dive into this big slate. Should be a good one.
Yeah, we spent a little more time talking about this one pre-slate than pre-stream than we usually do. A lot to get through. Lots of stuff going on in the injury report. I'm going to try to just blast off some stuff now. We're going to try to get to it while we go over the teams, but we're bound to miss somebody. So just a few minutes ago for the Mavericks, Quentin Grimes is in. Daniel Gafford's out. Derek Lively's in. I think Derek Lively left the game last time with illness. Klay Thompson is ruled out. For the Bulls, Lonzo Ball is limited to 15 minutes, so he's in. Mo Bamba's in. Norman Powell is ruled out for the Clippers. For the Blazers, Jeremy Grant's ruled out, but DeAndre Ayton's in. I think Donovan Klingon's out for like 3 weeks. You want to jump in here, Smitty?
Yeah, that's unfortunate. But for the Grizzlies, we already have their news. Jaw is out, and all the rest are still out. For the Kings, we have DeMar DeRozan out, and Trey Lyles is still out. Timberwolves injury report, I don't know if I trust it that much. They just listed Joe Ingles. He's the only one that's out. No one else with a Q tag, so I guess we'll see. And then for the Pelicans is main one. We have Brandon Ingram questionable, Hawkins questionable, and Trey Murphy is also questionable.
And DeJounte is in for the Pelicans, as far as I know.
Yeah, and then the Jazz have a big injury report. We have Clarkson out. John Collins is questionable. And then we have Filipowski out. Laurie Sexton's available. And then Cody Williams is out. He's a G League.
Yeah, it's a big slate. Apparently, there's going to be some chalk. I didn't think there was going to be. I thought the ownerships were pretty spread out earlier, but I mean, we're bound to get more news later too. So, kind of sucks having 6 games right at lock because just reduces our flexibility later. But try to make the best decisions. Last one I'll mention, Jalen Smith. I had a few percent of him. He's out for the Bulls, so we'll see if that opens up minutes for someone else. Maybe we'll just give a couple more to Vooch. Jordan Poole is back in for the Wizards. That's another nightmare we'll have to go through there. It's weird. Kevin Durant is probable, but Bradley Beal's questionable, which makes me think they're going to just sit Bradley Beal. It's a back-to-back, and they're not playing the Lakers today, so no reason to play him. Yep. Steph's out. Jonathan Kuminga was questionable. We'll take a look at that, I guess, when we get to that game. Yeah, I think that's good. So we're going to try to run through this game by game. It's going to be a tough one. We only have about 40 more minutes. That leaves us with about 2.5 minutes per game. So some are more interesting than others. Let's just jump into it. Heath, happy to have you. What's up? So first game, what game? Chicago, Orlando?
Yeah.
All right, let's do that. Now, I'm getting decent exposure to Franz Wagner. And that's basically like my most exposed from this game. Yeah.
Yeah, you would think this game would be more appealing just because it involves the Bulls, but it also involves the Magic, which are pretty slow. So the Magic are in the pace-up spot, so you're going to prefer them. But they're also getting Wendell Carter back, which he's on a minutes limit, but still mainly just Franz for me, and I'm getting to a little bit of Jonathan Isaac, but I don't love it.
Yeah, Wendell Carter's on his minutes limit was like 12 minutes to 14 minutes or something, which is like, why even play the guy? Just let him practice or something. And Jalen Suggs is back too. And so, I mean, you mentioned Jonathan Isaac, Mo Wagner exists, but he's priced up a little bit. I'm not sure that we can really get there on this large slate. How much Jalen Suggs were you getting to?
I have 5% right now.
Okay. That's about where I'm at, yeah. And I don't know that I want to have too much more. Like I mentioned, Franz Wagner's the only player I have more than 10% of on both sites from this game.
Yeah.
All right. All right. We got through that one in about a minute and a half. That was good. Clippers, Wizards.
Pull it up.
Let me see. So we had a fun one yesterday with Malcolm Brogdon chalk. I said to fade. Worked out. I mean, he didn't kill your lineups, but you probably weren't that happy with what he put up in his minutes. He only played 21 minutes, which is, kind of the whole thing with Malcolm Brogdon. He's got to be on some kind of limit, or maybe they knew he was on a back-to-back. We're trying to limit him, but I don't think he's a play at all today. Keyshawn George burned us. Alex Sarr went off. Kyle Kuzma went off. But Jordan Poole's entering back, and this is, in my opinion, one of the worst teams to target fantasy players against, the Clippers. So, what do you want to do with the Wizards?
The most I have 6% of Kyle Kuzma, and that's pretty much it. I have a little bit of Star, but for the most part, I'll be avoiding the Wizards. I do like some of the Clippers. I like James Harden and Zubac specifically, but other than that, both of these teams are kind of just an avoid for me.
Yeah, on FanDuel, I'm really only getting exposure to James Harden, a few percent to everyone else. On DraftKings, though, I'm getting James Harden. I like Zubac on DraftKings. I think he's going to be one of the more popular centers today, if I'm not mistaken. He looks really good. I think his minutes are kind of low because they've been involved in some blowouts, but 30% projected ownership on DraftKings on this slate. I think he's fine at 7K. And then I think you mentioned Chris Dunn. I like Chris Dunn too, especially on DraftKings. Chris Dunn. Well, guys, you have any questions, go ahead and throw them in the chat. It's going to be, we're going to have to speed through these. So if you want us to spend a little more time on anything, just let us know. Anything else from these other two teams you just want to mention, maybe as like a one-off tournament play, last guy in type play?
Not really. I don't hate like a. I don't know. Probably not really. I
Yeah, I
was gonna
agree.
say KPJ, but I don't know. It's too
Yeah,
big of
it's
a slate.
4,200. I mean, I was going to say, usually Clippers are on the night slate. He's a nice play there, but they are in the first game today. Let's see, next game, Atlanta, Cleveland. Let's take a look here. What's the starting point for this game? No one's like getting over 10% on either side.
Yeah, I don't have a ton of either team. I think the Cleveland team looks better to me. Donovan Mitchell looks like a pretty decent higher range guard. And then I'll continue going to Evan Mobley. And that's pretty much it from this game for me. I have a little bit of Hawks exposure with some Trey mixed in, but that's pretty much it.
So my exposures for this game are wildly different on both sites. Darius Garland is only 6,800 over on FanDuel, where he's 7,600 on DraftKings. And so, what was his ownership? 8. So 29% Darius. I was mistaken. Someone is pulling a lot of ownership from this game. The 6,800, the price is incorrect. We haven't projected for 31 and a half minutes. What did do you agree with that, Smitty? The 31 and a half minutes?
Yeah, I would say that's pretty good.
I gave him an extra minute, 32 and a half. It looks like. Um, it's not a guy that I want to fade. On DraftKings, I'm not getting much at all, but on FanDuel, I'm getting quite a bit, and it's just his price is too low. It's such a good matchup for him. Do you think he deserves the 29% ownership?
Yeah, I mean, on such a big slate, you could argue against it, but I think he's a pretty safe option in the matchup.
Yeah, and the price just really works over on FanDuel too. So I don't mind getting to a lot of Darius Garland. I mean, I'm actually over the 29% right now. I don't know if that'll hold by the time lock comes around. Love Mobley, love Jared Allen. Models identifying both of them as pretty strong plays in that 7 to 8K range. Donovan Mitchell probably still a GPP play. Ownership is fine today. Again, this is such a good matchup against Atlanta to target players against. And then, guy I'm going to ask you about, because I thought we were going to get questions about in the chat. Oh, we did. I appreciate you. Perfect timing. Ty Jerome pulling 6 and 8% ownership. Last time I made a comment, he was overpriced and he put up like 50 or whatever. What are we doing Ty Jerome today? Because I don't have 0% right now.
Yeah, I think he's a guy you can kind of sprinkle in. It's crazy how good he's playing, but he's just been really efficient.
Yeah, it's just unbelievable. The minutes have been there, which would be a big thing for me with these bench players. But Karis LeVert, was he? He wasn't on the injury report today, was he? Was he questionable?
Um,
No, he's still out. I'm sorry. But yeah, Ty Jerome, I mean, 28, 23, 28, 32 minutes, 19, 13. These were with Karis in, though. So with Karis out, I mean, we have Ty Jerome projected for 27 minutes, which seems kind of insane. But if I give him 27 minutes, I'm getting enough. So I don't hate it as long as he stays under 10%.
yeah, yeah, I think it's fine.
Anything else from either of these teams?
No, I don't mind going to a little bit of Jalen Johnson. That's pretty much it.
I like him as a tournament play too. I guess we didn't really mention Trey Young. There's 20.
Yeah.
8 starting point guards on this slate, so he's a 1-2% play in your large set. And I actually do want to mention DeAndre Hunter real quick. He's 2% owned on FanDuel at 5,200. I think he's pretty decent. We haven't projected for 28 minutes. He's been really good since he's come back. We'll have to see how this rotation plays out now that they're kind of fully healthy, but I just wanted to shout his name out there. Let's see. Top FanDuel cash on this massive slate. Just sort by ownership. Is it Denny? Is Denny the top cash play?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, Denny, Darius, Franz all look great. Tajane Solana is projected for this ownership. Is this the next game that we're going to talk about? This is the next game we're going to talk about. Charlotte, Miami. Tell me about Solana.
Currently I'm underweight. We have him at 44%. I like him. He played 30 minutes last game, so I think the minutes will definitely be there. And then you have the chance that LaMelo sits out, which only helps his minutes at least, and probably his usage. We don't have a large sample size, but he looks like a pretty good play. But if he really comes in at 44%, I'm not sure about that.
I have a take here, and that is I think he's one of the worst pieces of chalk I've seen this season. It just I don't understand. We haven't projected for 28, and the rest of the industry, as far as I saw, actually hasn't projected for more. And now the situation on this team has completely changed. Grant Williams is out for the season, and so the minutes are there. I don't know how we project him for this. I mean, his fantasy points per minute rate is so poor. He's 3,500. He's cheap, not quite the min price. I think he's had 2 good games, right? So he's
Yeah.
had 1 good game. This 19.5 is not doing anything tonight if he's chalk. But I mean, if he has that 1 fantasy point per minute rate and he plays 30 minutes, then yeah, we'll be very, very happy with 30 points from Salon tonight. But as Smitty said, like, this ownership is just absolutely wrong. It's a 14-game slate. Why are we taking shots on a guy who has shown us nothing in the NBA yet? And it's possible he could go off, but these are the types of guys that we target when other people aren't targeting them. We don't play these guys when they're 44%. I really don't understand this at all. So I'm pretty far underweight to him.
Yeah, I like that. I think it was last slate. I played quite a bit of him, and he let me down. But he was a lot lower owned, and he's basically in the same spot.
And that's not to say I have 0% of him, but I'm not going to be anywhere close to this 44% or the 27% on FanDuel.
Nope.
What about the pay ups here? Now, we were talking a little bit before the stream about what do we do with LaMelo if he ends up out and we have to change things right before lock? I mean, hopefully it's the first game we get that news a half hour early, but LaMelo against Miami, I actually don't mind. Model thinks he's the second best play on the entire slate. And then Brandon Miller, almost double-digit OF index. His price is climbing, still projected for pretty decent ownership, but I like him. I'm getting to him a bunch. And I think you mentioned Diabate earlier, too, as a play you like. So are you just getting to a bunch of Charlotte?
Mainly them three is who I have. I have a ton of Brandon Miller. Right now in DraftKings, I have 64%, and I'm actually pretty good with that. He's a 3-point shooter, which is what Miami struggles with. And if LaMelo's out, I mean, it's just a bonus, but I think he's a good play either way. And then Diabate, they're going to need him to go against Bam. So I like that. He's only 5K. I'm well overweight to the field on him. And then LaMelo, I'm actually over the field right now. I don't mind LaMelo. He looks like a good play. The model approves, but just keep an eye out because he is considered questionable in my eyes.
Yeah, and it's I want to say right wrist soreness. I might be making up the right part, but either way, one of his wrists is sore, so could affect him. We kind of need him to hit like 12 threes to get there. So there's something Diabate. So I want to really like Diabate because the minutes have been there, but the problem is he doesn't shoot the ball and he doesn't score real life points. He's played 30 minutes, 3 games in a row. The defensive stats are there. What was his price on? Is he a better play on FanDuel?
Let me see.
Is he center only though?
That picture, man. Yeah, he's center only on FanDuel, but he has power forward eligibility on DraftKings.
Okay, so center on FanDuel is kind of tough, but it just FanDuel scoring so much better for him because a lot of it's just going to come from blocks and steals, and he's not going to get the double double for rebounds. So, but I do like him. What was his ownership coming in at? Musa 17. I am slightly below the field on that 17, but I do like him today. I mean, I think Nick and I just kind of mentioned Miami guys. These are all just like 1% tournament plays, last guy in type plays. Maybe if you get to a bunch of value, anything stand out here?
Yeah, nothing really. I have 1% of Hero, and that's pretty much it. I don't really love it.
Yeah, I have 3% Hero, 2% Jimmy, and 1% Bam, which I hope that holds on my next run before lock. That sounds good to me. Houston, yeah, we saw some weird things with Houston yesterday. Jalen Green was questionable with illness, ended up sitting out the last part of the game, which led to Amon Thompson playing, I believe, 38 minutes with that extra overtime. So he would have played 33 in regulation, which is great. We can never project him for 33 because he'd end up in every single lineup, but projected for 26.5. We always know he has potential to play more. So this is the type of play that doesn't really show up if you're like using a traditional optimizer, or even if you're using a lineup builder, he's not going to show up. You kind of have to go in and bump him yourself. But to me, he's the most interesting piece from Houston today. What about you?
Yeah, I think he looks good. Jabari at 16% ownership, not as much interest for me on DraftKings, but he's the type of player I want to play when he's lower owned. But I could see mixing in like some Fred Van Vliet at only 7,100 on DraftKings.
Yeah, and I did you guys a dirty yesterday. I think we mentioned everyone on Houston except for Fred Van Vliet, and he ended up being the tournament winner. Sengun was awesome himself, too, coming in at that 3% ownership. We pointed him out yesterday. We still only have him projected for 31 minutes today, sub 10% ownership. His price is appropriate for him. Against Philadelphia, he's going against Andre Drummond and Yabusele. I think this is another smash spot. I'd like to be over the field on Sengun.
Yeah, I agree there.
Uh, did you mention Dylan Brooks?
No, I didn't. I have like the past two streams I've been on, so I figure I better chill on him.
I got a decent amount of him. I'm really hoping he just sits though, so I don't have to play him. And I like Dylan Brooks, I think, more than the rest of the hosts on this show do.
Yeah, I don't mind him. Well, he was like 3,700. That's just way too cheap for someone that's going to play 30 minutes.
Yeah, they were just. I mean, it's the same deal with like Sengun and even the other guys projected though. Like I even think Fred Van Vliet, the 35 minutes, you could give him another couple minutes. If I mean, it's a 10-point game, but it's only a 5-point game. I'm sorry. Yeah, 5-point spread. I mean, they've been involved in so many blowouts going both ways that their guys were just losing a minute. So I think the whole industry is under projecting them. This is a pretty strong team to target as long as these kind of minutes projections hold up.
Yeah, and the thing about the Rockets too is they're always good GPP plays when they're lower owned because they're a deep team, so you can't project them for a ton of minutes. But there's a lot of minutes variance. Like you seen yesterday, Jabari was playing well, so his minutes were extended. Like they always have that opportunity. So I think that's a pretty good point for Houston. For
I,
Houston.
lo- I love that point that you made that they're just perpetually under owned every day.
Yep.
Like Amon Thompson, it's because the optimizers didn't project him for more than like 25, 26 minutes yesterday. But if you just look into it a little bit, like we play GPPs, we have to take these kind of risks and stands. And yesterday, if you played Amon, it definitely super worked out. And he got there before the overtime. So it's not like it was just because of that. Let's see.
Uh,
Eason's going off tonight. He's fine. Yeah, everyone's thinking about Amon Thompson right now, so no one's thinking about Eason at 1%. But 5,600. I mean, this is a spot I'll have more than 1% of for sure.
yep. Lamelo's in. He's available.
Okay, nice. No
And
decisions to make there.
Brandon Crawford announces. Oh, that's MLB. My bad.
I was gonna say Brandon Crawford.
He retired.
Oh, shout out to Brandon Crawford, dude. Guy had a long career, right?
Yeah, yeah, he's mid to upper 30s.
All right, let's talk about Philadelphia real quick, then we'll take a break to look at the values. But from Philadelphia, I think you mentioned McCain to me before the show. They put out a really weird starting lineup. They're starting Yabusele and Drummond with Oubre, Maxey, and McCain. So what do you want to do with Philly?
Yeah, I have some interest in McCain if he's under 10%, which I think he even probably comes in a little lower than that. But I think him and Maxi both look pretty good with this starting lineup because they're just going to have to score. There's no one else to score in this lineup. Like Oubre's out there to play defense. He could shoot some threes, but that's pretty much it. But other than that, I do have interest in Drummond at only 5K. The minutes should be there with Yabusele starting next to him. Makes me feel a lot better about Drummond.
Yeah, yeah, and it's so unfortunate because his price on both sites, 5K and 5,400. We haven't projected for 15 minutes, and I just refreshed, so I don't know when this is going to update for him starting. But how many minutes are you comfortable projecting him for?
Let me see. Probably in the 27, 28 range.
27, 28. I gave him 25, and I'm getting basically all the Drummond on both sites. So,
Yeah. I have 40% on DraftKings right now.
I mean, he's been bad, but yeah, I mean, maybe 22 is a little bit is a really, really safe conservative projection, but maybe I'll lower it to 24 and see what I get. He's just cheap. But remember, there's 14 games today. There's 28 starting centers. He is a strong play, and then I like mixing in Jared McCain and Maxey. And I looked up usage rates with Paul George and Embiid off the court. McCain and Maxey both exactly 26% usage. Kelly Oubre 18, very low. And then Drummond, he's only shared the court with them for 25 minutes, but 22% usage is pretty strong for him. Let's see. All right, so a question in the chat. Top value popping for DK. Let's take a look. I mean, just top of the model value, PJ Washington, Denny Avdia, Bryce Sensabaugh, Keontae George, Quentin Jackson, John Collins, Mobley, Jared Allen. Not quite the names you'd expect to see on a 14-game slate, but, I mean, what do we like from the top of value here?
I like Avdia probably the most out of any of them. And John Collins, he's not really cheap, but I think he's a good play.
Yeah, if John Collins ends up in, I'm going to have interest. Remember, Lauri Markkanen's out, and now his price kind of floated back to where it was before Lauri came back, when he was kind of dominating as the only big man. I just moved the slider to, these are value plays under 6K on DraftKings, and Denny is showing up as number one. So he's their backup center tonight. Klingen's out. Robert Williams is out with a concussion. DeAndre Ayton's back, but they don't want to play Duop Reith. I can't imagine that's going to change now. I mean, they're playing Indiana. They don't really have a super need for a big body. Miles Turner's fine. Moses Brown is fine. So Denny, very strong play, even if he's going to be coming off the bench. Like, it's weird to see a 30% owned guy off the bench, but we do have him projected for 31 minutes. I think this is true, and the price is probably 500 too cheap, at least on DraftKings.
Yep.
I mean, from these other cheap guys, are we going back to Zaire Williams at 5,100? I think Cam Thomas is out for like 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah, I don't mind going to Zaire. I think there's other people out too. Not Watford, but let's see who it was. But yeah, I think Zaire looks good.
And I think this is a FanDuel only play. Last 3 games are on FanDuel only. That's the Nets, Suns, Nuggets, Jazz, and Thunder, Golden State. Since we're... Go ahead.
Claxton, Clowney, Cam Thomas, and then Finney Smith's questionable.
Yeah, so I'll be getting back to him. And then who's the other guy we're getting? Was it Jalen Wilson?
Yeah.
Yeah, over on FanDuel only. Move this to DraftKings only just for a minute. Quentin Jackson, man, 4,300, 11%, 23% on FanDuel. Model thinks he's good value. Is this the next game? This is the next game we're talking about anyway, Portland, Indiana. Yeah, let's start with Indiana. What do you want to do here?
I'm getting to some Miles Turner. I think he's a pretty good play, especially with Ayton back. I like that matchup even more. And then I'm fine going back to some Halliburton, just kind of mixing him in. And then Siakam's probably slightly too cheap, but not really a priority.
Yep, I agree. I was getting a bunch of Siakam because of his price, but I'm comfortable being around the field. Miles Turner, I'm actually under the field. Again, 28 starting centers tonight. Benedict Mathurin and Tyrese Halliburton are the 2 guys I'm targeting to be over the field. This is going to be really stupid, and this is like, I don't even know if this is DFS strategy, but Tyrese's home away splits, I've never seen anything like it before. He's an all-star at home, and he's like barely in the NBA when he's on the road. So he's at home 5%. And regardless of that, he's fine to take shots on as long as he's under 9K. We have him projected for 35 minutes, and this is a really good matchup against Portland.
Yep.
And I'll just mention Benedict Mathurin. I think his minutes are kind of volatile. We have him projected for 35, which is a pretty high minutes projection, but his ownership is so low, and 6,500 on FanDuel seems like a really good play at 10%.
Yeah, I think he's viable.
Looking on the other side at Portland, so DeAndre Ayton's back, but the other guys are out, Klingen and Robert Williams. Look at Portland. I mentioned Denny Avdia as the backup center. I mean, Scoot Henderson, I thought he was going to be out, but it sounds like he's questionable. And then we got Jeremy Grant out, so it could just be a tight rotation. Maybe, I was going to say maybe Jabari Walker sneaks in there. We haven't projected for 12 minutes, but I mean, Portland, I think these there's something to find here, right? I know Denny and Banton are projected for ownership, but what else?
Yeah, I like Denny and Banton. I think Shaden Sharp's a pretty good play, and then Simons is always a GPP play. 6,100 is just pretty cheap for him. And then, yeah, I don't know if I'd do it on the main slate, but I do think Jabari Walker's an okay play, like in a turbo or something.
Yeah, this is another guy who's never going to show up because he's projected for 12 minutes. So this is someone you'd have to adjust up. But I mean, we haven't seen it recently, but they just don't want to play Duop Reed. So if they need another backup center because they can't have Denny in there for whatever reason, it could just be Jabari Walker, even though he's kind of undersized. And then, I mean, Tumani Kamara, if he's above 5K, it's tough because it's a gigantic slate, but he is there maybe on a turbo or something. I don't even know if there is a turbo for this.
Yeah.
Let's see. Is the Mavericks game the next one? It is the next game. Nice. So I see a question about which Mavericks guards do we like with Grimes back. Clay and Luca are out. What do you want to do with Dallas today?
Let me pull up my exposures to them. Right now, I'm getting to the most of PJ Washington, and I think he looks like a pretty good play at 6,400. He's going to have bring some offense to the table, and then Lively without Gafford looks like a pretty solid center play. But we also just there's just a lot of centers to play. He's 5,500 on DraftKings. It's not really that cheap, but I think he looks pretty good. And then Najee Marshall looks pretty good, and then Kyrie's more of just a GPP play to me.
Yep. I agree with pretty much everything you just said. So, yeah, I think we're good there. What about on the other side with the Knicks?
I really like Towns on both sides. I think he's a really good play. At 7% on DraftKings, 2% on FanDuel, it's just way too low. And then all the other Knicks, I think they look fine. You know they're going to get the minutes, so they're all GPP plays.
Yeah, the two guys I'm targeting, Love Cat and then Jalen Brunson at 3 and 2%. It's not hard to get over the field there.
Yep.
I saw something in the chat. I guess I didn't realize this, but with Jeremy Grant out, are we projecting Denny to start?
Yeah, I am.
Okay. So, I mean, that's just as if Denny's in the starting lineup, it just guarantees minutes for him because I imagine he's still going to get the backup center minutes. Maybe he checks out early, or Aiton's probably more likely Aiton checks out a little bit early. But if Denny's starting, he's probably one of the best plays on the whole slate. Thoughts on Aiton? Centers have been killing the Pacers. Do you have any reservations about playing Aiton coming back from a few game absence?
No, I think he's fine. They might limit him like a little bit, but it was an upper body injury, so not too worried.
We have him projected for 28.6 minutes at 6,600 and 6K on FanDuel. These ownerships, I mean, so at the 28 minutes, he looks like fine value. I don't know if he has the potential to play anymore, but if he does, he would stand out even more. So yeah, Aiden seems fine as a tournament play. And then Banton on DraftKings, I'm getting a bunch. FanDuel, I'm actually getting more than the 7% too. Are you comfortable?
Yeah, I think Banton looks good.
Okay, nice. Thoughts on KJ Martin with Caleb Martin out? KJ is their bench, and they have a weak revenge narrative.
What's his price?
Yeah, that's right. That's the question. KJ Martin, he is in the model. We have him projected for 20 minutes, actually. 3,400 on DK, 38 on FanDuel.
I don't hate it, but it's just a big slate, so you're going to need a lot out of him.
Yeah, I agree. If it was a smaller slate, I'd have more interest. He's going to have to, are they just going to run like a 3 big man rotation with Yabusele, Drummond, and KJ Martin?
Probably. I think Bona probably gets in there too.
Okay. So I don't know that anyone dominates the minutes here, though.
No.
Yabusele probably has the best chance.
Yeah, if he stays out of foul trouble, I figure his minutes will be pretty secure.
Duop, I just can't imagine playing Duop Reith on this slate. Grimes Revenge, Missy. Did he start or Tice started, and then one of them started the second half?
Ty started, and then Missy started second half.
Were you looking at him as center value?
No, I'm not.
He's been pretty consistently giving us this 20 to 23 fantasy points. He's had a couple blow-up games. Let me see if I got him at all. Pelicans. I mean, Shante back shouldn't affect him. I actually got 2% on DraftKings if that counts. So not 0%. Let's see what else we got here. Scary Terry revenge game. It's just like it's already hard to target a Heat guy. It's even harder to target Terry today.
A bench player.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is he coming off the bench now too?
Yeah.
Let's see. We have more games to get to. Toronto Pelicans. So I guess we already started talking about the Pelicans a little bit, but I think they have a massive injury report, and I don't know. Is anyone here appealing?
I guess Trey Murphy, if he's in, he's priced up now, but I think he looks pretty good in this matchup. That's pretty much it for me. It just depends on news, really.
Yeah, I think the 6,400 on FanDuel for Trey Murphy at 12% is probably the best spot here. I mean, Missy on DraftKings at 2%. I actually don't hate it. It takes up the center spot as the only thing, but it's probably an okay play.
Yeah.
And then Alfred Payton, we just saw have the best game any point guard has ever had in the history of the NBA. 4,700. I mean, can we consider him at all with DeJounte back?
Probably not. I
I
don't
don't.
know.
I don't see how we can. We haven't projected to play every minute that DeJounte is not on the court, but it just. I mean, if he was still 3K, sure, but FanDuel is for sure no. DraftKings 4,700. I don't see it.
No.
Detroit, Memphis. This is actually kind of an interesting one. Detroit is probably going to be without Cade Cunningham. I don't know if that was official or not. And then Memphis is without Ja Morant. So we have Jaden Ivey picking up pretty much most of the ball handling duties for Detroit. Malik Beasley's helping a little bit. And then we should see Scottie Pippen slide back into the starting lineup for Memphis. So I think there's some interesting stuff in this game. What do you like?
Yeah. From the Pistons side, I'm getting to some Ivy and then Tobias Harris, assuming he's in. If Harris is out, I kind of think Fontecchio starts. Looks like a solid value play. But other than that, it's mainly Harris and Ivy for me, and then I don't mind mixing in some Beasley as well.
We'll jump back to the Pelicans in a second. Brandon Ingram and Trey Murphy just got ruled out.
Oh, great.
But yeah, I'm pretty heavy on Jaden Ivey on both sites. Even at 7,500 on DK, I'm over this 10%. Malik Beasley, I'm convinced that he just has to play big minutes, so I like him. Even better if Tobias is out. And then from the Memphis side, really like Scottie Pippen and Desmond Bain, dude. We thought we could project him for more minutes because he played the 35 that one game, but then he fell right back to the 30-31. We haven't projected for 31. If he was like 3% owned, I mean, I'm going to have probably around 10%. That's what I had on my last run, but I don't know. They're all just kind of GPP plays to me. I would like to be well over on Scottie Pippen, though. I think he's great.
Yeah, I agree. I'm over on Pippen right now. Bain, I have 14%. He's just so cheap. It's so hard to not just jam him, but he's let me down every time. And then Jalen Wells, I like as a GPP play.
Any interest in Laravia or Luke Kennard?
I don't hate them, just mixing them in.
And then Brandon Clark. Are they still in a weird situation where he's their starting center?
He's been starting at the 4 with Jaren Jackson at the 5.
Okay. I don't know. Another guy. I mean, 4,800 FanDuel's steep. He did it the other day, but if I get a few percent of him, I don't hate it. I'm not going to X him out.
Yep.
And lastly, I mentioned Jalen Duren. Like this guy's Andre Drummond 2.0. I don't know how the Pistons keep finding these guys, but his minutes are just 25, 25, 24. He played 30, 18. And so 6,800, I don't know how we can even consider playing him.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Do we like Wemby as a pay up since Lakers can't defend centers at all? Is that a true stat, Smitty?
No. No, I was actually looking at the easiest matchups for centers this morning, so I know off the top of my head.
Yeah, it doesn't sound right. Anthony Davis is pretty great. I've mentioned
He's
it before, though, that he gives up fantasy points to centers. So, but do you like Wemby?
he's fine.
Yeah, it's just fine. That's how I feel too. It's so hard to get to these top pay up guys on today's slate because there's probably 20 guys that are going to put up 50 fantasy points today. So guys like Wemby and Jokic, DK Main, and even guys like LaMelo, just anyone above 10K, they really have to do it today.
Yeah. Yeah, on these bigger slates, I'd prefer just going mid range.
Jordan Hawkins game time decision. Basing it off the Jokic performance. Did Jokic destroy AD? I forget already. Maybe I blocked it
Probably.
out.
Don't surprise me.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. We got a couple more games to get through. It's 3:20, so we have about 10 minutes. Gosh. All right. Detroit, Memphis, Sacramento, Minnesota. DeMar DeRozan's out. Is Malik Monk out? Malik Monk is in. And then for Minnesota, I think they're mostly in for Minnesota, the guys we care about anyway. But DeMar and Trey Lyles out for Sacramento. So we had some Sacramento guys popping. Kobe Jones.
Let's see. Right now I'm getting to some Malik Monk. I think he looks like on FanDuel at least. At 5,100, I think he's slightly too cheap. And then also Fox with DeMar out. Fox just takes a larger role in the offense. So I like going to Fox for the Kings.
That's about where I'm at. Yeah. De'Aaron Fox, and then I don't have anyone else more than like 3% owned.
Jones.
Yeah, I was going to say Jones is in the back of my head because if he starts somehow for DeMar, I don't know that he's even good at basketball or that he plays minutes, but someone here could get interesting. Maybe not on this large slate, but just keep an eye on it.
Yeah.
Same for Minnesota. I'm not really getting too much there.
Nope.
Just show it here in case no one's pulling ownership here. We talked about Wemby a little bit already. It's hard to get to him. I mean, if we get really, really good value later, it'll be easier. Model loves him. Model thinks he looks great. Projected for 3% ownership. So we can definitely always take shots. I mean, if he puts up 75, he's still going to be in the winning lineup. But anything else from the Spurs?
Let's see. I was getting to a little bit of Wemby. I just haven't sprinkled in, but that's pretty much it for me.
I gave a boost to Stephon Castle, and yesterday my comment about him was I questioned the ceiling, and then he went and had the best game of his NBA career, put up a ceiling. So still don't mind him. His ownership seems like it's in check, 10 and 4%. This 5,200 price, I'm pretty sure he should be up to like 5,800 by now. A little bit more on FanDuel, and I'm not really getting too much else from the rest of the team. I mean, maybe a couple percent of Chris Paul.
Yeah, Castle's been really good.
And for the Lakers, I just don't know what to be interested in here except for AD, LeBron, and maybe Austin Reeves as a GPP play.
Yep, that's the only three I'm getting to. I'm actually overweight to AD on FanDuel, and then underweight to, about with the field on LeBron.
I have 0 LeBron on FanDuel right now, so I don't think I'm ever going to win a GPP with LeBron in the lineup, and I'm a huge Lakers fan. I don't see it at these prices. We talked about Brooklyn a little bit. Anything else you wanted to mention about that?
No, it's pretty hard until we get more news.
And then the Suns, I mean, we need the news there. So I think Kevin Durant plays and Bradley Beal sits, which KD and Devin Booker probably look fine as GPP plays. Maybe like Royce O'Neal would be a last guy in type play, Nurkic GPP. But I mean, is there anything we're really looking at on the Suns?
No, I'm with you though. I think Bill probably sits in this one, but still, just really don't open up a ton.
Okay, nice. And I guess we were still waiting on the model to update for Dallas. Maybe we can get that in the next couple of minutes. I think they just pushed an update. Jokic, kind of the same boat as Wemby, but more expensive. But I actually am getting some over on FanDuel because it's FanDuel only, obviously. Anything? Do you like Jokic? He's obviously easier to fit in over there than he would be on DraftKings.
Yeah, I have 10% Jokic right now. It's a really good matchup for him, but yeah, I think he's a pretty good play.
Yeah, super top of the model against Utah. If you're playing the DK night slate, I can't imagine I don't have 100% or 90% when I make my lineups later.
Yep.
For the Jazz, there's some interesting pieces here. So I thought they were going to be more interesting on DraftKings. They're not on DraftKings. They're on the night slate. That's why they are more interesting on FanDuel. Sorry. Yesterday, I thought Keontae George was a better play than Sexton because I thought his minutes were more secure. He ended up only playing one more minute than Sexton, but we got kind of lucky that Keontae George put up a really, really good game and Sexton was okay. I've mentioned before that with Lauri Markkanen off the court, Sexton's usually the guy that gets the increase in usage. But this year, well, I had John Collins off too, but it's actually now it's Keontae George gets the biggest bump in usage with Clarkson and Laurie off the court. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, I like Keontae. He's someone I've been on since he came in the league, and I'm just going to keep riding him.
Yeah, and then no one else really gets that big of a bump. I mean, Colin Sexton still has a 27% usage rate with Clarkson and Laurie off the court. That's most of those minutes were with John Collins too, so that probably goes up slightly if John Collins is out. John Collins' usage rate in that situation is 26. Bryce Sensabaugh is 20, which is about league average, and he's probably the only value play I was really looking at here.
Yeah, on FanDuel, I'm getting to quite a bit of Bryce Sensabaugh, and I'll probably keep it that way. And especially if Collins is out, he's going to look even better.
Yeah, and then again, another night slate play for DraftKings. I mean, I'm going to have not 100%, but maybe like 70% of Sensabaugh. He's probably one of the best plays over there. I don't think he starts, though. Do you think he starts? Or
Uh,
wait, he does start.
yeah,
Yeah, he does start. I'm sorry. Who's going to be the other starter, though, if Collins is out?
that's hard. I was kind of looking at that, and I don't really know.
Yeah, because I don't think it's Eubanks. They need him to back up Kessler. Cody Williams is not with the team right now.
They could go small, like they give favor to Juzang, so maybe, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's kind of got to be Juzang. I don't think we have interest in him as a play. Maybe on the night slate again, we're going to get there, but on the main slate for FanDuel, it's just a 0. And last game, we have 3 minutes to get out of here. OKC and Golden State. Steph Curry's out. Andrew Wiggins' points prop today was 18.5, which I thought was kind of high, but I don't think he was pulling the ownership. Pretty interested in Andrew Wiggins over on Golden State. What else do you got?
Yeah,
Over
for
on
Golden
FanDuel?
State, I like Wiggins. I like Buddy Hield, and I think Pods is a pretty good play. Draymond's fine to me, and then that's pretty much it. I have a few shares of Lindy Waters. I don't mind mixing him in.
Yep, same for me. Brandon Pajemski and Draymond and Wiggins. Okay, Seaside, and then we'll get to these last few questions.
The OKC side for me, I'm playing a lot of Hartenstein on FanDuel. And then I think Jalen Williams looks like a good play. The 8,900 kind of gives a sticker shock, but he's deserved it this season. So I like going there. SGA is a good tournament play. And then I don't mind mixing in some of the other guys.
Is he 8,900 for Jalen Williams a price bump?
Yeah, I think he's been around the 82, 83.
Dude, I have a bunch of him on FanDuel. I thought that his price got lowered. Like that's how comfortable I was just plugging him in.
Yeah, he's been so good.
Yeah, I think we need to bump SGA a little bit. I don't know. It's a gigantic slate. I don't even know if he comes in at this 5%. I'm not convinced. I got 0% and I bumped him by 3 minutes and I still got 0%, which is kind of absurd. But just goes to show it's really tough to build a lineup with these pay ups. Maybe there's just a lot more value at point guard position. But Isaiah Hartenstein, yeah, he's also one of my favorite plays on the slate. On DraftKings, this is probably a 100%, 90% play for me on the night slate. Over on FanDuel, I'd like to be over the field, but it's going to be actually kind of tough to get over that 20.
Yeah. One thing I will mention, I just refreshed the model, and KPJ is at 42% ownership on DraftKings now.
I saw a question about KPJ in the chat earlier. I mean, he's coming off the bench. It's because Norman Powell's out. So
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think about it? Do you like it?
Not at 42% on a this big of a slate, but I think he's a good play.
Yeah, and it's like there's probably 13 pivots to KPJ in this price range today. There's one on his same team, just a couple hundred more. And that's like the best leverage because maybe Chris Dunn takes away some minutes from KPJ depending how the game's playing out. Harden, I'm pretty sure this ownership just jumped. I mean, I don't think that Harden without Powell is something that we have to like fight to get to.
No.
Gonna see if I can pull up what the usage, because I'm not convinced that the usage rate for Harden goes up that much when Powell's off the court. He's been bad. I will say Zubac is someone I'm still very interested in, even at this ownership.
Yeah, I agree. Let's
see if you get a question.
Sixers went with the normal lineup. We got a Hornets starting lineup.
Wait, Sixers?
Yeah, Sixers went with the normal lineup that they said they were going to.
Yabusele and Drummond.
Yeah. And then Hornets are going with Ball, Miller, Josh Green, Saloon, and Taj Gibson.
So Diabate didn't start last game. He still played 30 minutes, so this doesn't really dock him for me. But like I mentioned earlier, he doesn't score real life points, which is a real hindrance to doing well in fantasy basketball. Thoughts on Jabari Walker? He's popping. Yeah, that's going to happen with these cheap guys. I mean, it's just a minutes thing. I don't think he plays enough minutes. I don't really think he's playable on the main slate. They've been in similar situations before, and they haven't given him a ton of backup center minutes. So I just don't see how he could play more than like 15 even.
Yep.
Missed Houston talk. Yeah, we love Sengun. I'm pretty sure we're pretty in on Houston overall.
Yeah.
Mike Conley's in. Good to know. Dante DiVincenzo got benched yesterday for the last 25 minutes of the game. So sick.
John Collins doubtful.
Okay, John Collins is doubtful. We'll take a closer look at Utah. We do have to get out of here in a minute. But Scotty Barnes, I guess we didn't talk. Did we just glance over? Did I skip Toronto?
Yeah, but Scotty's pretty much the only one I'm playing from there, but he does look good.
Yeah, love getting to Scotty Barnes at this ownership today. I want to like RJ Barrett, but the model, single digit DK value, I don't think we can even get to like a 2% of him. What's a realistic value percent we're looking at for a player to meet when playing low risk cash games, 4 or 5? So that like 5x for salary, that's kind of an outdated concept because if you 5x every player on DraftKings today, you score 250 and you're probably out of the cash for like 70 points. And so I don't like to think about it this way, but if I was, I would probably shoot for a 6x on DraftKings and a 5x on FanDuel for cash. And I don't know, that's done pretty good for me, I guess. Smitty, first 2 players in the dummy
for
DraftKings.
Yeah, we always do DraftKings. Never mind. Let's see. I think we both like Zubac if we want to do that, and then Denny.
Yeah, let's do Zubac, Denny, and then we want to throw in KPJ?
Yeah, might as well.
Might as well, right? There's Denny Avdia.
Harden would probably be too much, but could do it.
Yeah, 3 Clippers. I mean, there's no one on Washington I'm clamoring to run it back with. So
No.
Who else is owned? Brandon Miller, LaMelo?
Yeah.
Which one?
I like Brandon Miller.
Yeah, let's try Brandon Miller. Better price. Maybe a DK value that's not super owned. PJ Washington, Derek Jones, Evan Mobley.
I like PJ.
Let's do PJ at power forward. Leaves us 6,500 for each position, so we could fit in one more pay up. I mean, you want to try putting in a Scotty or Tyrese?
Yeah, I like either one. They're both good.
We can plug in Scotty for now, and then Tyrese is only 100 less, so it's pretty easy to just change that. What other value play do we really want to get to on DK, though?
I like Drummond. Drummond and Diabate are the same price. I like Lively. He's not really a value. Let's see.
Just another point on Salon, guys. He's 3,500 and points per dollar. He's like ranked like number 30 on today's slate, number 25. Yeah. So just another.
I kind of think his ownership probably comes down now with KPJ.
It could, yeah. And Wendell starting alongside Batadze. So I don't know what we're doing there.
That's weird.
Yeah, maybe Batadze is okay because he doesn't lose as many minutes now. But again, it's just there's 30 centers playing today. It's a tough one. Scottie Pippen?
Yeah.
Is that 2 GPPs projected for not ownership, but the model is approving it. So let's do it. Scottie Pippen Jr. And are you in the Discord today too?
No, I think Jayhawk is.
Okay, nice. And then I mean, it leaves you 4,900 for a forward. We can plug in like no one here is appealing, but yeah, move something around. I mean, Scottie Pippen in guard, Scotty Barnes in forward. Then you have utility 4,900, which gives us almost gives us Andre Drummond. But today's it's tough to just point out a core for today because ownerships are very spread out, and there's just a lot of good plays. And so in tournaments, I'm more spread out than I would usually would be.
Yeah, me too. Pretty much any play on the slate that's getting ownership, there's like 10 pivots. So it's a pretty good slate to get different.
Yeah, so I hope we gave you guys a pretty good overview of the slate. Mentioned a few GPP plays we like, a couple pieces of chalk we like, a couple pieces of chalk we don't like. Jayhawks in the Discord, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. Appreciate for tuning in. Good luck today.